I grew up in a world where nobody talks about mental health or mental illness, but for my family's experience and the public nature of it, I'm sure I wouldn't be here.
It is my pleasure to now introduce Judge John Broderick.
Mental illness took up residence in my own house, in my 13-year-old son. He was a really good artist, my son, and he spent a lot of time as a kid in his bedroom at his desk with the door closed, drawing. Today, I would describe it as withdrawing.
We just saw it as he was an artist. He was much more quiet, much more reserved, and we didn't do anything to change it. We just thought that's who he was. We knew that creative people, really creative people, oftentimes march to the beat of a different drummer, and that was Christian.
My son started smoking in high school, but he was smart and he tested very well, and he got into a pretty good college in New York.
When he went to college, he started drinking. I mean, it was serious drinking. And we didn't know enough about mental illness to even think, I wonder if he has a mental health problem.
I knew nothing about mental illness, neither did my wife. He used to say to us, Dad, if I didn't have these feelings, I wouldn't be drinking. He didn't know he had a mental health problem. Makes sense when you think about it. How would you know that?
When he finally got through college and came home to graduate school in Boston, he lived with us. At that point, he was drinking pretty much every day. We tried rehab, but I look back now and think, how foolish was that? So Patty and I finally reached out to the alcohol experts to say, what do we do? Patty and I were told we had two choices. Put him on the street, hope that turns him around, or let him die drinking with us. And so we thought we had to do the thing that nobody should ever have to do, and that is to put my grown son on the street. And so we did that. We literally put him on the street.
It was the hardest decision we ever made, and the single worst decision I have ever made in my lifetime. When he came home, she was drinking as much, if not more. Those underlying mental health problems exploded. I'm sure looking back, he was so frightened we would put him out again, and he knew he couldn't do that. So one night he assaulted me. I went to the intensive care unit at the Elliott Hospital in Manchester. I was in the ICU for 6 or 8 days. I have no memory of that. My master's educated son was arraigned in a public courtroom in Manchester, issued an orange jumpsuit, and sent to the Valley Street Jail. I don't know what the definition in the dictionary is of hopelessness, but I know what it feels like.
It was frustrating, it was frightening, it was horrific.
My son was at the Valley Street Jail for 6 months. I wasn't allowed to visit him. My wife visited my son at Valley Street when I was in the ICU. He said, Mom, is Dad going to be okay? I can't believe I did that to Dad. I cannot forgive myself. Just tell me he's going to be okay. In the early days, she didn't know. After 6 months, he was taken one morning to the Superior Courthouse in Manchester, where he was going to be sentenced to the state prison. My son came in that morning. I hadn't seen him for 6 months. My wife and I were sitting in the front public row. And he walked over. I stood up with my wife. He gave me a big hug. He said, Dad, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I did that.
It broke our hearts because we would just thought we were doing the right things when we weren't. And we realized the damage we had done and the wrong decisions we had made.
I said, look, we must have gotten into this as a family, and we're going to get out of it as a family too. If you don't quit, your mother and I won't quit. He said, I won't quit, Dad. He was sentenced to 7.5 to 15 years in the state prison.
After 30 days at the prison, you're allowed to have visitors, if appropriate. And we met with the head psychiatrist, 2 social workers, Patty and I and my son, and Dr. Knoll said, let me tell you what's going on with your son. He said, your son has really serious depression and panic and anxiety that's virtually off the charts. So what he was doing is he was drinking. He was drinking because that was the only thing that gave him relief.
It was through the prison that Christian finally stopped the drinking, got the right care, the right medications, and we were hopeful, I think, at that point.
It's like it all came into focus. And my own failures came into focus too. I felt like I had a hand in everything.
My son's not a bad person, he's now suddenly a good person. He's always been a good person. It's not a weakness or a character flaw, it's a health issue, and treatment is possible.
This campaign of knowing the 5 signs of mental illness has become a passion for both John and I. We had the same hopes and dreams for each of our boys. Christian's journey just put us on a road that we just never expected to ever be on.
I think when this campaign idea came along, I thought maybe the only way out of this fire is to talk about it, to deal with it, and in dealing with it, help other people.
Some days I feel like I'm on a fool's errand. Maybe I'm the only one that cares about this. My son has taught me a lot about mental illness. I was pretty ignorant. I'm not ignorant now. I see it now.